the distinction that you made about when I asked you, we can't force them to take their medications here. If they come through the safety center, will they be referred to a place where they are forced to take their medications? And you said not necessarily, and then you described the 3 levels of, so if you could just say that again.
Yeah, you can only be, by law, you can only be forced to take medication against your will if you meet certain criteria. The first criteria is you have to meet commitment criteria, to be committed to a mental hospital against your will. And then having done that, if you're still imminently dangerous to yourself or others, even in the hospital setting, people can give medicines against your will. But that's very rare, and of course, you know, we have this bias for personal freedom and autonomy in this country, and we want to honor that, and it's something that we do stick to. We want people to be treated in the least restrictive alternative that you can find, and we want people to not be coerced. We certainly want to use as much leverage as we can. And it could be leverage from interpersonal advantage, or it can be leverage about housing. You know, we want to offer you housing, but you'll be evicted unless you take your medicine and participate in treatment. Sometimes we use mandatory outpatient treatment, which is a court-ordered treatment, to say you must take your medicine or you'll be in trouble with the judge again. So we do try to use some leverage sometimes, but that's rare. In most cases, you don't have to do that, and you don't need to do it. So when people go to the safety center and they've been acting up, we try to work with them. We try to partner with them. This is in your best interest. Would you be willing to let us help you with your housing, with your access to health care, with staying out of trouble with the law?
And if they say no, they go to jail.
If they say no, then if they say they don't want the help, then yeah, the officer has the discretion to take them to jail based on what he was going to arrest them for in the first place.
What if they agree to comply, but then there's no follow through on their part? If they get into housing or into
and those are the 2 different groups I was talking about. One of them is just a group that has nothing to do with law enforcement, that rotates back through again and again and again, and we do continue to serve them and never give up, never give up, never give up. We want the revolving door, non-arrest, no law enforcement involvement, but still a revolving door person, either through substance abuse or through failure to take their treatments. We want that person to come to the crisis stabilization unit, even though it's repeated and repeated and repeated. It's not a failure. That's what it's for.
But those are not people who have committed crimes. Right. Okay, I want to be clear on that to the people who are listening to this.
People that have committed crimes, and the officer in her or his discretion has decided, let's try this instead, and they don't bring them to jail, and they bring them to us instead. They're going to be watched closely. That's what General Nichols was talking about and what the sheriff was talking about, to see that they're compliant, or at least making a good faith effort toward the treatment recommendations that have been made. And if they're not, then they obviously won't let them just keep avoiding consequences of their choices. The 3 areas I was talking about are, under any circumstance, whether law enforcement is involved or not, usually ends up with a group of people who need to be helped in a coercive way, and they meet criteria for commitment to Lakeshore or Peninsula. There's another group of people, another population, that because of what they've been doing, as a consequence of their behavior, they really need to be incarcerated. But there's a huge middle group that's much larger than either one of those 2 groups. And that's the people we're talking about.
And those are the people that will be targeted to make use of the safety center.
That's the safety center people.
Okay.
And those are people who are nonviolent, misdemeanants, who got into trouble because of their mental illness or their substance abuse.
And so they will be, and what you were saying was that they will be closely monitored after they are released from the safety center. They'll be working with a case manager who will make sure that they are in compliance with what they agreed to be part of that program. And so it's not like you're going to write them a prescription and then put them in an apartment and just let them you know, fend for themselves.
That's not going to happen. There's
Yeah.
not going to be any apartments like that.
Well, into permanent supportive housing or temporary supportive housing.
But you're right.
So they will be monitored and make sure that they are in compliance.
There will always be some kind of monitoring when they come through that system. It won't be the same for everybody, though.
Right.
It won't be that everybody will have the same kind of case management.
Well, and I think this is another...
Some people will leave the safety center and go to medical detox. Some people will leave the safety center and go to a 28-day alcohol rehab. Some people will leave and go into the psychiatric hospital. Some people will leave and go back home with their family and go to a mental health provider.
Outpatient.
And in all those different ways, we're going to make real
Well, I think
strict-
that's one of the things that's so good about this is that it does allow you to take an individualized approach to each person, because I
Which
think
you
you're going to have
can't.
much more success that way.
And you can't do that in here.
Yeah, and you can't do that in
People have to be
jail.
morphed into what
Yeah.
the facility can tolerate and treat safely. But on an outpatient basis, you make everything individualized, and
So your chances of
it works
success are
better.
greater.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much.